All right, welcome back to Client First Capital. My name's Amar. I'm here with Cary Smith, and today we're going to talk about this book, Die with Zero. Right? Is this the right financial strategy for you? Uh, are you really saving too much for retirement? This book, Die with Zero, challenges like a lot of our mainstream thoughts around wealth and spending. Um, the brief overview of the core message is that we want to maximize life experiences by strategically spending. But I think there's an audience for this book, and then there's the audience that's not right for this book. And so we're going to dive deeper into that, right, Cary?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this conversation, Amar. Um, I have so many questions about what's the right strategy here, and definitely if you're working with a financial planner, they should be helping you live a life that you're experiencing and doing the things that you want to do,
Yeah,
right? Um,
absolutely.
and then layer on, die with zero. Part of that sounds very appealing to me, and then part of it sounds a little risky because I don't know exactly when I need to be a zero.
Yeah,
Right? So
exactly. That's
yes,
the main
so,
point.
so it's exciting and maybe a little risky at the same time.
Yeah, so we're going to dive into that. I have some tables that we're going to share, but if you haven't read this book, it is a good book to read. We should start with that. The key takeaway in this book is that you want to make these deposits, memory deposits
Hmm.
of experiences that you have with people you care about, things you want to do, things that you can look back and say, "Oh, I lived a meaningful life," type thing. Um, the author is encouraging people to front load their experiences when they have the ability to. Uh, Here's the problem that I have with this book. If you're a saver, this book is great because you probably haven't spent a lot, and you probably can spend on those experiences, or you probably had a career as an executive or a business owner where you didn't have the opportunity to, and it's hard to give yourself permission to actually spend,
Right.
right? So I think those people, I would think, are ideal candidates to read the book, right? Those people that have a spending problem or overspend relative to how much they've saved, or people that have used this book as a permission slip in order to be able to continue their spending habits and say, when I'm 80, I don't care if I have zero, I'll just live off of Social Security at that point. Reality is, it's a steep drop, and this is why you need a financial plan. You need to integrate your financial plan with your spending to track what your probability of success is. And if you have longevity in your blood, if you have a parent that's 90 or so, you may have the genetic lottery. You may have longevity things that you should consider. If you're healthy, right, you should consider that the healthier you are, the longer you're going to live, and the more likely that there's some longevity years there to plan for.
Yeah, so Mar, but I still think it's a worthy pursuit. And so let's just say I'm just retired or I'm retiring now, and I'm the kind of person who, man, I want to be out there and active, and I want to be seeing the places I've never seen. I want to do the things that maybe I haven't done. I want to bring all my family together on vacations, all these things that maybe I want to experience. But for me, it's not necessarily die with zero, but that's the conversation I need to have with my financial planner,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
This is the kind of person I am. This is the retirement I want to live. Help me make that happen. But also, I'm not want to eat ramen noodles for the rest of my life once I turn 80, right?
Yeah, no, you're exactly right. Right. So we'll talk about how we can do that or how we do that. In fact,
Hmm.
we have a next best decade workbook, which you can
Right.
find on our website. Really allows you to identify the experiences that you want to have and to have them now. Um, we know based off of research planning, there's essentially three phases of retirement. there's a sense of liberation when you first retire. Imagine grandchildren at the edge of the seat for summer break. You're ready. You're ready to spend some money, and we want to make sure that that's a summer break, not a perpetual break. Right, from a planning perspective. And typically that break is about 3 to 10 years for most people, where they'll have an increased amount of spending. Phase two is that you get into a routine, right? And so you're starting to live your life. You have some normalcy around your expenses. And then phase three, you tend to look at giving back, helping your children out more, helping grandchildren out. You may have increased expenses for yourself. You're no longer going to mow the yard. You're going to hire a gardener. You're going to need some help over here with some other stuff. If you were, into fixing water leaks or whatever, you'll hire a plumber now, right? Like, so those expenses start to graduate. And then, at the end of life, you may need some help and care, and that's built into that extra expenses. So it's kind of like a U, right? And with all this, there's inflation, so that U is not a steep U, but it's a gradual U that goes down and up. What's important from a financial planning perspective is that I first identify what is important. Once we identify what is important, then we need to align our experiences to what is important, and then we track it through the financial plan. Now, the financial plan gives you a probability of success. That is not a yes, no. That is, let's say if you have a probability of success of 80%, that is 80% that you have more than enough funds to meet your goals. 20% of the time, you're going to have some change in expenses, but we don't know the impact of those changes. You just have to be okay with a probability of having some change of expenses. So that's kind of how we got to tie this in, the concept of actually having those experiences, but have enough safety or margin that if you live a long life, we can tie that in. Let's look at I have a table here. Let me see if I can share my screen. All right, so we should see a table here now. I'm sure the zoom on this is horrendous. Let me see if I can make it bigger. All right, so now we're at 300% zoom here. But what I did is I pulled the actuarial table from Social Security, and I want to kind of address two things that I get all the time. One thing is, the average age for most people, if you're 60, it's not 84. What this is showing you is the 50th percentile person's age. So we stack rank them. So let's just use easy math. Let's say we have 5 people and they're 60, and let's say they live to 90, 90, 90, 90, and then 75, right? What this number is showing here is the middle, the 50th percentile, that person's age, right? Which would show up as 90, right? In my example here. The other thing is that the more you have saved, there's a correlation with wealth and health. The more you have saved, the more you tend to take care of your own health, the more on top of meeting with doctors and stuff like that you tend to be. The Social Security table is taking the general population, right? So I would say that this is just conservative to begin with, right? And you may want to add a year or two. So let's just look at somebody that's in their 70s, or let's say 67, and they say, hey, I want to die with zero at age 80. Yeah, tell me how much I can spend. I mean, there's over 50% of those people lived above 88. And a lot of those people may have been like 87 and 11 months. Like you see what I'm saying? It's like it could be very close to that number. So first addressing that, there could be a steep drop off in expenses if you die with zero later in life. And maybe the quality of care may not be what you want it to be, right?
That's right.
The second thing that I like to address is that if you stay near your grandchildren, or if you know, exercise and all that, like we said earlier, you could probably add some years on here. And there's a good calculator that you can look at, which is the longevity calculator by the Society of Actuaries,
Mm-hmm.
where you can plug in your current age, your health relative to other people your age. You can also plug in, you know, like family history. Like, you know, do you have a healthy family history? They only have three options. It's like, you know, there's longevity in my family, normal, or below average, right? Like
Right.
it's not like you got to dial into to the 6 month window, right? Like they're not trying to do that, but they're trying to give you a better gauge. You know, we need to have a safety margin in the plan,
Yeah.
right? And Die with Zero is eliminating that safety and margin piece by getting people to have experiences earlier, but it's not getting them to align their overall financial expenses. Meaning, if travel is a big component of what you want to do, the experiences that you want to have, you know, you shouldn't be buying a new car every 3 years,
That's right.
right? Or you shouldn't be going out to eat every single meal, right? So we need to prioritize and rank what experience, what we want to happen, what things have those experiences that align with that, and then track that through planning.
Yeah. And you know, I I have several friends who are retired, and I find a lot of them, you know, one, they eat healthy, they exercise, and they're on the go, right? And so a lot of cruises, a lot of trips to Europe, right? And but I also find that you know they're not buying new cars, right? Every 3 years, and they're getting more mileage out of them, but they have prioritized the experiences, right? And and their financial plan is aligned to make that happen. But I'm starting to see people that live healthier, eat well, don't drink as much alcohol, maybe as previous generations did when they retired,
Yep.
right? And all of those things are contributing. And I think it goes back to the table you just showed is probably pretty conservative for a lot of people.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, the beauty about financial planning is it allows you to enjoy life now as well as preparing for a longer future, right? And
That's right.
so I think that, you know, your take as well as mine, as well as whoever's watching this video, is that how do we align, you know, our what's important to our experiences, but still track that, and that's through a relationship with a financial planner, advisor. Um, if you have questions or concerns, please reach out to us. Please download The Next Best Decade. I think putting pen to paper is the best way to identifying these experiences that you would like to have. And please like and subscribe. And I'll talk to you later. Thank you, Cary.
Hey, Mark, good job.
Yep. Bye.
Bye.